ServiceNow reported its Q4 fiscal 25 earnings last week. A lot of things that were not that surprising. Strong revenue growth, guidance that was strong, a lot of momentum, beating expectations, momentum with E5 and Copilot. Now, one of the things that was a little surprising, and the market definitely honed in on it, was around Azure, and I'll get to that in a second. Both growth and reporting something for the very first time. But ultimately, it comes down to this. The year now is done. They're now in their new fiscal year. There's a lot of customers out there that have renewals coming up in December, next June, whatever it may be. A lot of customers thinking about extending and expanding commitments, perhaps in term. Customers that have unified support, customers of Azure that they don't necessarily do in line with their EA. It's like, what do we do with this, right? That's the question I always get. It's the reason I put these videos out here, hopefully to help that community of customers. So let's get into the numbers. Let's get into some of the things that were said during the earnings call, and then I'm going to give some thoughts about how to prepare, how to use this, right? How to make this part of your plan, part of your strategy moving forward. So the numbers, right? So again, it was a Q4, so there's also full year numbers that were reported, but Q4 FY25, their revenue was $76.4 billion. That was up 18%. The Microsoft Cloud revenue, which is obviously incredibly important, was $46.7 billion. That was up 27% year over year. And again, that's a pretty massive number. The commercial cloud part of that, right, was up 18%. That's actually accelerating because last Q4 was 15%. They had growth in the average revenue per user. They don't ever really give that number, obviously, but it's tied to Copilot and E5, not surprisingly. Seat growth, commercial seat growth was 6%. And again, that has a lot to do with economic conditions and global economic conditions and hiring practices and things like that. So, that's obviously a lower percentage. LinkedIn, 9% growth. D365 revenue was 23% growth. They talked about how they took share this last quarter, and they continue to take share. They named some customers as well. Talk about Fabric. Revenue was up 55%. This is incredibly important. This is the kind of database offering, and they're aggressively pushing. They're aggressively, bringing it to the customer's attention, pushing customers in that direction. Massive leverage if you're considering Fabric for many reasons. Talk about Copilot. They didn't break out the specific Microsoft 365 Copilot numbers. They just continue to talk about fast growth, which I'll get to in a minute. GitHub Copilot, the enterprise GitHub Copilot, increased 75% quarter over quarter, and that's really important. Think of that as an extension even of Microsoft 365 Copilot. That is the vessel, the tool, the capability, the SKU in order to build agents. Okay, so obviously agentic AI, Salesforce, ServiceNow, pick your favorite vendor. That's going to be incredibly important, GitHub Copilot for Microsoft as they evolve and move into their new fiscal 2026. Azure, talked about this. This is the big one. 39% growth year over year. The market was expecting like 34 to 35%. Last Q4 was 34% growth. They're accelerating. And this is the thing. They actually put a number out there. So for the full year, the revenue tied to Azure was $75 billion. Okay, and that sent a little bit of a shockwave through the financial community and just in general, right? So that's important. Azure has always been important. They're showing strength. They're showing momentum. They're going to continue to expect that. They told the market as such. They're expecting for Q1, in terms of guidance, they're expecting 37% growth, right? So not that much of a dip in their Q1 versus Q4. So massively important, highly competitive environment. Alternatives out there, AWS, GCP. Now, talked about consensus. Let's talk overall, right? So for the full year, they didn't give a number, but they said they could expect double digit. For Q1, they're expecting 74.7 to 75.8. That beat expectations, or beat the London Stock Exchange Group, what they were expecting, which was the low end of 74.09. Commercial cloud revenue growth 13 to 14% in Q1. Again, remember, Q1, that's July, August, September. This isn't, this is over the summer. This is what they're expecting. And ARPU, average revenue per user, is still tied to E5 and Copilot. Full year numbers, I'm just going to give them quickly. You got 281.7 billion, 15% growth. There's reports out there, they're 4 trillion now, right? One of the biggest. There's a lot of backlash a little bit about putting that out there in light of they're also laying people off. I'm not going to touch that, but obviously as a company, almost 282 billion for the year. Their cloud revenue was 168 billion for the year, growth of 23% on that. So some of the things that were said during the call, again, not that surprising. Satya focused in on Copilot, obviously. Says it right, continue to adopt at a faster rate than any other suite, Microsoft 365 suite. Largest quarter seat adds since the launch. Record number of customers returning to buy more seats. That's important. So if you're a customer, low volume out of the gate, they want to push more up front. They don't get it, they're going to try to get more in term. Get your pricing ready. Get your volume discount structure ready. I keep saying this now more than ever. And if you're in term and you're doing something big, going from 300 to 10,000, use that point in time to open it all up, not just get the right Copilot price, okay? More customers using Customer Studio to extend Microsoft 365 Copilot to build their own agents. That's what Satya is saying in his open remarks. That's incredibly important. I just talked about that, okay? Copilot, GitHub Copilot, Copilot Studio. There's so many different areas that you have to be focusing on to build, and they know that. So it's not just Microsoft 365 Copilot. It's Copilot Studio to build agents. It's GitHub. Get ahead of this. Build this. Get understanding to build the right process in place. And then Amy Hood made it very clear. Security, quality, AI platform, that's where they're going to be invested. They're going to bring that innovation to customers. And here's the deal. That's all well and good, but if customers aren't using those pieces, so you're investing your money here and I'm not getting it, make sure you as a customer bring that to Microsoft attention. Have utilization reports. Have your forecasted demand plans figured out as you build up and prepare for your renewals, because they're going to tell you all this great stuff. But if you're investing my subscription dollars in things I'm not using, how does it benefit me? Get that story together. Understand it. Shelfware, unified communication plans. It's critically important because they got to keep growing. And if you're considering unified support or keeping unified support, there's leverage in that as well, because they need to continue to grow that because they had some momentum this last quarter. And Azure I've already talked about. Competitive environments. If you're going to move from pay-as-you-go to commitment, any commitment you give them needs to be in return the right commitments back to you. Flexibility, discounting, reserved instances. But not just for Azure. Tie it all together. And that's the key, I guess, to all of this. Now more than ever, when you approach Microsoft, be prepared across everything you do, including LinkedIn, to build the story as to why they need to give you this across everything, not just this across the piece. Earn my business across everything, and maybe there's the path forward, whether it's Studio, GitHub, Copilot, Microsoft 365, it doesn't matter. Make them earn it across everything before you give them one thing.